Hashem sefasai tiftach ufi agiti lasecha. Chavraya Kadisha joining us from near and far. It's been some time now that I've been trying to find a way to stay connected to all of those precious souls who, for one reason or another, perhaps it's the nature of the revolving door of life, I've been zocha to study from, to learn from, and to learn together with, to grow together with, and then Pitom Eineno, all of a sudden we find ourselves not in the same place, not under the same roof, and geographical distance obscures the closeness of the heart that we feel for one another. And so from the Ir Shechuber Yachta, from the city which combines and joins all the Jewish people together, I thought that after getting a few requests, it would be kedai, maybe once a week, we neder, to upload a video where we could study some Torah together for a few minutes. With Hashem's help, we're going to study the Sefer Mishlei from Rav Yaakov Moshe Charlap, specifically his commentary on Sefer Mishlei, which is short enough, concise enough, that it's something we could do a few minutes every week, and is profound enough that it can change our lives every week, every time that we study the commentary for Yaakov Moshe. The Meimarim, Rav Yaakov Moshe Charlap, of course, was a student of Rav Avram Yitzchak HaKohen Cook. The memory of both of those tzaddikim should be for a blessing. And it's appropriate that Sefer Mishlei, Rav Yaakov Moshe starts by explaining that everything that he's attempting to give over, which in one way or another he received from his Rebbe, you see a lot of the lashon, a lot of the language, which is found in the Svarim of Rav Kook, echoed throughout the Svarim of Rav Yaakov Moshe Charlap, and specifically here in his commentary to Sefer Mishlei. But it's appropriate to begin with a comment, as Shlomo Melech does, mashal Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael, first pasuk in Sefer Mishlei, to begin with a comment about how the nature of all teachers of Torah, anybody who's ever attempted to convey, whether it's two friends sitting together, a parent and a child, a teacher and a student, that anything that's ever been attempted to be conveyed is only a semblance, is only a parable, is only a mashal of the inner life of that teacher. And as I've attempted through a mashal so many times in my life to convey that everything that any teacher of Torah has ever attempted to convey to a Talmud is really a means of them being able to have a relationship with Hashem for themselves. In the same way that it would be tragic if, excuse the coarse nature on some level of this mashal, but we'll borrow from another sefer of Shir Hashirim of Shlomo Melech to use this type of mashal to convey something holy, that in the same way that it would be tragic if a parent and a child, or in a different kind of way, a husband and a wife, only embraced each other, were only able to kiss one another, if the parent would kiss a book and then the child would come and kiss that book. Or if a husband and wife wanting to embrace each other in an intimate embrace would kiss some inanimate object and then the other person would kiss that inanimate object. And in a certain way, if, God forbid, the only way that a person has access to the Torah Hashem, which is the portal through which we have a relationship with Hashem, if the only way that we can have a relationship between us and Hashem is through being taught by other people, then Chalila, our relationship with Hashem, is no different. That person is involved in an intimate embrace, Dveikus b'Hashem, and we, in some way, by being davuk to that person, are only being davuk to that person who's being davuk to Hashem, and there's some sort of chatzitza, there's some sort of hefsek that stands between us and Hashem. But Baruch Hashem, Hashem created the Torah in such a way that the only possibility, that even what we're doing right now, in attempting to give this over on this platform through this medium, is the only thing that I can give over to you, and the only thing Rav Yaakov Moshe can give over to us, is a mashal. And the very nature of a mashal is that you have to define the nimshal for yourself. You have to find that nimshal for yourself. And so Rav Yaakov Moshe writes, "Hakadusha Yona hi koras l'kol echad ve'echad miYisrael." The exalted nature of kedusha calls out to each and every single Jew for themselves. Shechonin drachav v'yadbik atzmo ba'al yedei kedushas haTorah. That we find our way to connect to the Torah through our own intimate embrace with the Torah Hashem. which is the closest thing we can get to Hashem himself. Even the Torah itself is called the mashal hakadmoni, is a mashal of an ancient parable of Hashem himself. V'hi hamidaberes mitoch gronom shel roi Yisrael. This is what speaks through the throats of all of the shepherds of the Jewish people. From the time of Avram Avinu, and from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu certainly, until our time, everything that's ever been attempted to be conveyed by any teacher of Torah throughout the ages is merely a mashal. Hamisgala mipiyam, that which is being revealed by the throats and by the mouths of the Roi Yisrael, of the shepherds of the Jewish people. Eina ela hamashal. It's only the mashal. And like I said, Baruch Hashem for that, because it allows each of us to be able to find our own nimshal. Like Rabbi Nachman explained in the first Torah in Sichas Haran, Ki ani adati, like David HaMelech said, I know my relationship with Hashem, says David HaMelech, but it's impossible for me to convey that to you. And so all I can do is give you a mashal of how intoxicating, how beautiful the Hungarian wine that I've tasted is, but the only way for you to do it is to taste it for yourself. I can give you a mashal of what that tastes like, but the only way is for you to find it and interpret it for yourself and to create your own nimshal. Aval es ha-nimshal tzarich shekol yachid yakshivu me'atzmo. Ki ha-nimshal einenu kamo ha-mashal asher yachol yos nirak mikli al kli. The mashal could be passed from one thing to another. You know, a mashal is something which gets updated with time. Used to be a lot of mashalim about kings and dragons and all these different things, and now the mashalim which are conveyed through movies and through television shows and through books and lahavdol alfei avdolos through the Sfarim HaKadoshim of our tzaddikim, the mashalim get updated. If you read a mashal that's written nowadays by one of the contemporary tzaddikim, it's something which speaks to our generation and is updated. It gets poured from kli el kli, in the same way that if you take a cup of water that's in a particular shaped cup and you pour it into a different cup or a different bowl, then the water takes on the shape of that cup. But again, that's only the mashal. The purpose of the mashal is to allow each individual person to be able to create a portal, a place where they're able to enter into the nimshal mimekor elyon, from that place on high, which is waiting for the person to find their own nimshal, which in turn becomes a mashal for their children or their students or their friends when they're trying to explain their relationship with Hashem. Therefore, a person should, God forbid, never get stuck, never get lost in the mashal. Never think for a second that the mashal is the real thing. Everything which Shlomo Melech is going to try to convey to us here in this mashal, al yidei Shlomo, eina el mishalim. All of this is only parables. And the truth is, every daf of Gemara, every pasuk in Chumash or every pasuk in Tanakh, every Sefer Chasidus that's ever been written, every Sefer Musar that's ever been written, is just a parable to attempt to convey to us the sweetness of Hashem's love for us. Mishalei Shlomo, the parables of Shlomo. Hamachshirim es hamakshiv lahakshiv es hanimshal. What these mashalim do uniquely, though, what Shlomo Melech is preparing us to hear through his mashalim, like every Roe Yisrael, like every shepherd of the Jewish people, is to hear the nimshalim that we ourselves are able to siphon yashar me'akdusha al-yona bli emtzai. Not for Hashem to kiss some inanimate object and then for us to kiss that inanimate object, but for us to be able to bli emtzai, without any emtzai, yashar me'akdusha, straight from the source of kedusha itself, receive that relationship with Hashem. But because of the nature of this nimshal, which is constantly pouring forth with great force, without any batting of an eyelid, any secession from up on high, it's not possible for any person to receive that nimshal straight, but we need to receive it from our teachers. We need to receive it from those who came before us, and to receive these mashalim in a way which prepares us to be able to hear the nimshal. Asher ach Shlomo mitzad malas shleimus mitzad hayuso ben David melech Yisrael, and because of the fact that he is also ben David melech Yisrael chai v'kayim, because he's the son of David HaMelech, who was able to tap into that emotional quality that mashalim are able to convey to us. Safuk b'chol romus gadlusam shel Yisrael, Shlomo Melech and David HaMelech, who are suffused with the yearnings of the entire Jewish people, that the 600,000 root souls of the Jewish people, which course through the lifeblood of David HaMelech, Zachal leklolius hamashalim hanoraim. The reason that these awesome mashalim were able to be channeled through Shlomo Melech is because they are the mashalim of Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael. Melech Yisrael, the lave, the heart of the Jewish people, like the Rambam explains, the king is the heart of the Jewish people. And because Shlomo Melech, the son of David HaMelech, is the king of the Jewish people, therefore, Asher al yadam nakshiv ha'akshava ha'atzmis shel nimshal. It's uniquely through these parables of Shlomo Melech that the nimshal can be heard, the echo, the baskol is able to be heard by the Jewish people. Mashal Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael. And Mirza Hashem next week we'll come back to learn the second pasuk of Mishlei, of Sefer Mishlei, which Mirza Hashem, Rav Yaakov Moshe Charlap will explain to us how the mashalim of Shlomo Melech uniquely are able to bring together the world of the head and the world of the heart. Shlomo Melech representing the head and David Melech representing the heart. And Mirza Hashem should give us strength and health to be able to do that in Mirza Hashem next week.